Heading into a possibly franchise-changing trade deadline, Coby White continues to put up a disaster class after disaster class after disaster class. We'll talk a little bit about that, his trade value around the NBA, and we're going to also talk about Coby White and his quote that said, losing that game hurt his heart, especially in missing that last shot. Ayo Dosunmu has reminded the front office exactly who he is and why he probably needs to stick around, and the trade deadline is staring this franchise right in the face, and the Bulls are about to hopefully make a decision. We're going to get to all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Eric Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. And man, what a stretch for Coby White, man. After initially coming back, and while he wasn't shooting the three ball well, he was averaging over 20 points per game. Struggles came. And then the last couple of games, man, Coby White, like I said, it was a disaster class. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Coby White has been putting on an absolute disaster class. And in an offseason where, you're already heading in, you reportedly wanted $30 million between injuries and your level of play, that's probably affected that some. If you do want to stay in Chicago, unfortunately, Coby White's downturn is coming at the same time in the same season where Ayo Dosunmu has absolutely made a step up as a scorer, still being super efficient. This is just shaping up to be a situation where Coby White, regardless of how you feel about Coby White, between the cap situation, the Bulls still remaining needs, and the value out on the trade market, it could still very well end up where Coby White is gone. And that's including myself. You guys know I love Coby White, but this is hard to ignore the play of Coby White. Like in an important game against a team that's owned us and owned you, you went 2 of 11. You shot 18% from the field. Yeah, you had 8 assists, you had 4 rebounds, 2 steals, but it's just at this point, it's not. The clutch Coby that we had 2 years ago, the last 2 seasons before this one, is all but completely gone. And while Coby White is saying the right things after the game, right? He said it hurt his heart. I've hit that shot before. Listen, if he would have made it, would have sent it in overtime, it still would have been a bad game, right? So that's the thing. Yeah, he had an opportunity to play savior, and save for what you will there. But it still would have been a terrible game. It just would have been like, yeah, he played bad, but at least he hit the shot when we needed it to. And that's the thing that's concerning. Now, Billy Donovan talked about it after the game. He said this. I love it for him in terms of his growth. I've got a lot of confidence and belief in him. I think Coby leans into these situations to become the player he wants to be. You're not going to make them all. I think the thing he'll have to ask himself is, did I shoot with confidence? Was I balanced? Did I go through all the things I can control? I think he did. I thought he looked good, and he came off confidently. The ball just didn't go in. It happens sometimes. But here's the thing, right? But wait, there's more. Bulls fans are tired. And Bulls fans, like, again, this show is not just to be for my thoughts. And it would be unfair to you guys that support me to only give my thoughts on these shows. There are Bulls fans right now that have seen the fact that you have missed on so much value of players that are saying, hey, you got to trade Coby now. Do you really want to lock yourself into $30 million of Coby White? I have my own personal thoughts. I think Coby's fine. I think that $30 million number is becoming more and more the norm. I also think you probably can get him for less than $30 million. But at the same token, if you have something that can improve your team and you don't take it, then what are you going to do? Or if we run into another situation where you don't trade Coby White now, you try to trade him 2 years later and the value is even worse. Like, what does that mean, right? So I understand those points. I don't always agree with all those points, but listen, it's all about, I've said the one thing that has been very consistent with me, despite how I like a player, how I dislike a player, it's all about what's on the basketball court. And right now, on the basketball court this season, Coby White has been struggling, regardless of the whys. I think injuries are some, maybe pressure that he puts himself on another. The fact that he is slow, maybe that he started off slow, maybe he's in his head. But at the end of the day, the results on the basketball court, if Coby White was averaging 25 points per game, hitting big shots, I'd have a ground to stand on. I'd be like, hey, y'all see how he's playing? Y'all want to get rid of this? But I can't say that with how he's playing right now. The same way that, hey, I've called Javon Carter the ball-headed hoe. But this season, When Javon Carter's got in the game, he's hitting big shots for the Bulls when nobody else wanted to. And you notice, I ain't called him the ball-headed hoe in a minute, right? So it's all about what you do on the basketball court. Now, of course, there are some expectations differently because of your role, and that plays a huge part into it as well. My expectations for Javon Carter now are at an all-time low after me, thinking he was going to come in and try to compete for a starting role. Didn't happen. But Coby is supposed to be part of the core. This is supposed to be a season where Coby established himself as part of the core, that he built off the chemistry that it looked like it ended with Josh Giddey last season, and unfortunately, it just hasn't happened. So, all those things being there, it is what it is, man. The Bulls are going to have to make a decision. It can't just be based on just this stretch of Coby either. It has to be what you've seen in totality, where you think he can go. But a decision has to be made, man. And then on top of that, on top of us losing this game, right, which, again, the Miami Heat continue to beat our ass, is another thing that's just frustrating overall because, damn, how can one team, well, now two teams, the Pacers and the Miami Heat right now, own the Chicago Bulls? And there's no other ifs, ands, buts, questions, or anything that they can say about that, right? But at the same time, this team we keep making the same mistakes, man. And we lost Jalen Smith in this game. So now we don't know what's going to happen with Jalen. Jalen has been such an important player to the Chicago Bulls team. It was a tightness in the calf, which is not good. Like, we've seen what calf injuries have done to the team. So if it is something in the calf, probably expect, and it's too tight, probably expect him to miss about a week. They're not going to play with calf injuries. They're just not playing now. They didn't label it as a sprain or strain. So, there you go on that one. Hopefully it's not anything too. It's just tight. If it's just tightness, he should be fine. If they end up labeling it a strain, he's probably going to be out for a while. He had, in 15 minutes, he had 11 points, man, and 5 rebounds. Jalen Smith has been playing absolutely great for this team, man. And when you look at what he's doing this season, man, on 20 minutes per game, basically 10.7 rebounds, man. He's played in 40 games this season. It'd be really unfortunate if we do not have Jalen Smith out there when we take the court against Miami on Saturday and Sunday. It would really suck if we don't have that, but he has to get together. You have to do that, but it's just the Bulls, once again, every time we take a step forward, we take 2 steps back. And I guess that may be unfair to say in this case. We lost those games. We won 4 games in a row, and it looked like we were starting to play in between, losing Tre Jones to injury, now losing Jalen possibly to injury. Josh Giddey didn't play last night. It's a snowball effect. We just can't catch the momentum. But like I've said many times, I don't think this front office can really wait and say, hey, we're just going to give it another shot. Once we get to see all these guys fully healthy, that's when we'll start. We won't pull the trigger or anything until that. You can't wait to that. You can't afford to wait to that, in my personal opinion. So you got to get it together now, and we'll see what they do. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are after this game. How do you feel about the remaining 2 games that we have left against Miami on Saturday and Sunday? How do you feel about Coby? Do you think Coby's recent play has all but sealed his fate maybe with the Chicago Bulls, while Ayo has also stepped up tremendously over that same stretch? Let me know what you guys think on all of that down below. And talking about Ayo, right? Ayo Dosunmu, who has been in trade rumors, even though his trade rumors seem to be more in line with the Bulls probably plan on keeping him. There is not. We've even heard that out of the 2 that are likely to be traded, Ayo's the one that's probably going to stay, right? But Jake Fisher reported that Dosunmu's comfortable in the complimentary role and is lined with the coaching staff. So there's no doubts. People have asked, would Ayo starting a factor in him leaving? Reportedly, again, according to Jake Fisher, he doesn't mind coming off the bench. He says that he's doing a little bit of everything coming off the bench, and he's fine with that. So, again, if we're taking a player for their word, that's what we'll see. But, again, we'll see what it comes down to it, right? But apparently when it comes down to Jake Fisher and these roundups in regards to Ayo Dosunmu, the common thought is still that Ayo Dosunmu is going to end up staying in a Chicago Bulls uniform. And I think that's the right thing to do. And again, I'm not going to get into having to be against him and Coby, because I don't think it's that. I don't think that the Bulls came into this we have to decide between Ayo or Coby. I think that if both would have played really well, they would have kept both of them. And they still may keep both of them, right? Nothing has happened yet. But in regards to Ayo was just too versatile of a player. I remember that there was somebody in the comment section a couple of years ago, and they're like, Ayo Dosunmu was the one holding Coby back, which never made sense. Ayo and Coby always had really good chemistry when they were on the court together. But when it comes to Ayo, it's the versatility that he brings. I mean, Ayo Dosunmu is a player that we've seen him play the 1. He's done it effectively. We've seen him play the 2. I think he's more effective there. And we've seen him play the 3 and be effective there. He's efficient in either one of those spots. and he can guard all three of those spots too, which adds to the versatility in how you can play him because he can guard all those positions. And so it gets into this world where you have to look at Ayo and you have to say that regardless, like, and that's why I say I want to have the conversation independent of the Coby White situation, right? Because Ayo just in of itself, I think it kind of takes away a little bit from what Ayo has been able to achieve this season. If you look at it and say, well, they're going to keep Ayo over Coby because they have to keep Ayo over Coby. No, Ayo's made a case to stay even if they were to keep Coby. I think even if Coby had an amazing season averaging 24 points per game, you would still have to look at Ayo and be like, well, we can't let him go either. I truly feel that. Ayo and what he's able to do defensively at times. He's able to come out and slow players down defensively. I don't think Ayo's turned into a lockdown defender where he completely shuts people out, but he does make it he forces players in inefficient scoring nights. He does those type of things. He communicates. He goes after loose balls. He does all those. He creates turnovers, all those type of things. So that's already one aspect of it. But then you start looking at the offense that he brings. And specifically with Ayo, it's not just how much he scores. It's the efficiency in which he does it in. I cannot stress enough how important two-way players are. But then on top of that, if those two-way players are also efficient offensively, it does something different, man. 23 points last night for Ayo Dosunmu off 16 shots. Ayo has always been efficient. Now, the three-point efficiency has not been the thing that's always been consistent. What he's shooting from three this year is absolutely bananas at 44%, taking the most three-pointers of his career. Bananas, right? But even with that said, Ayo has been at 50% or above basically every year of his career. He had 2 years of shooting 49%. So basically still right at 50%. One was shooting 52, the other one at 50, and he's 51% from the field this season. Ayo is taking the most shots that he has of his career, and it's only 10.5 shots per game. So when you're able to have that type of efficiency on that low volume of shooting, that is a player on top of being a two-way player, on top of being one of your best transition players. He's a one-man fast break, and the mentality that he brings. I think all those things have put Ayo deserves to be on this Bulls team regardless. And whatever if Coby or anybody else does, if the Bulls are able to do something to where they can dump off Patrick Williams' contract for and have to include a couple of second-round picks, then that makes it even more likely. Ayo deserves to be on this team. And whether Ayo's a starter next season or he's still coming off the bench next season in a super reserve role, Ayo Dosunmu is having a six-man of the year type season. Now, he's not going to be in that conversation, mainly because to be in that conversation, you have to kind of be on a winning team. But Ayo Dosunmu is having that type of year. And and when you look at the growth that Ayo Dosunmu has had over his career as well, like from the role initially coming in, being off the bench as a defensive only player, they slowly trusted him more and more offensively. He took over the starting point guard role, didn't do the best at it. That's why we had to eventually bring in Pat Bev. But through that, we found out, okay, he's better on the wing. He's better at the two. He's better at the three. And Ayo Dosunmu has been really thriving since consistently doing that and being more of a 2 and a 3 than a point guard. And I love to see that from Ayo Dosunmu. Ayo deserves to stay on this team. And like I said, that's regardless of what you view as, what you think about Coby, what you see happening with Coby, Ayo Dosunmu himself through his play. Because again, like I said with Coby White, the opposite is true. Ayo Dosunmu has been proving it on the basketball court. And when you prove it on the basketball court, that deserves to be rewarded. The question now becomes about Ayo is that with him likely to stay here in Chicago, what does that number look like, right? What does it look like for Ayo? Is he going to stray between 15, 16 million? I think that would be a great place for him to be at. But yeah, I can't, if Ayo came to the table and said, listen, I want 18. P. Will got 18. I mean, that's unfortunately the world that this front office has put themselves in with some of the decisions because, yeah, I don't think you can really bat an eye if Ayo Dosunmu says, I want 18 million per year, per season. Hell, P. Will, what is he giving you more than P. Will? Everything. Literally everything. So we'll see what happens with Ayo. I love Ayo Dosunmu being on this team, man. I think he makes this team so much better. And he's going to get a raise. Right now, $7.5 million per year. He's going to get a considerable raise over that. There's just no doubt about that. So we'll see what he does and how he stays in the city long term. He's also from Chicago. I don't even like to mention that because that has nothing to do with why I love Ayo. Ayo is about the player that he is on the court, the pit bull that he is on the court. Him being from Chicago is added on top of that because I'm glad that he gets to play for the team that he grew up watching. But outside of being from Chicago, it's just the way that he plays, man. Everything that is left on the basketball court, you can't deny Ayo Dosunmu. With that said, though, I want to do a roundup, right? We are officially now 8 days away. I'm sorry, less than 8 days. We are 6 days away from the NBA trade deadline. And yeah, man, once the deadline comes, what's going to happen. So I figured what we could do, especially before heading into the mailbag tomorrow, we have games tomorrow as well, is let's do a roundup of everything that we've kind of heard this week around the Chicago Bulls. There have been a lot of trades, right? One, Jake Fisher on his Substack, as well as Tim Bontemps and others have reported that the Bulls guards still remain in high demand, right? That the Minnesota Timberwolves still view 3 of the Bulls guards at almost perfect matches next to Anthony Edwards between Coby White, Tre Jones, and Ayo Dosunmu. They'd be fine with probably doing a deal with either one of those. But as Jake Fisher notes, and Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Times as well, is that if any of the 3 guards are moved, Minnesota is the likely case. But it seems like Minnesota, up until this point, has been kind of stingy with the assets, right? They don't have any first-round picks that they can trade, so that's off the table. They can only do pick swaps, right? So that's all they can do. On top of that, Juan Berenger, a player that the Bulls would absolutely be interested in because he fits everything that they want in a future center that they can try to develop. They don't want to move off of him because they view him as Rudy Gobert replacement, and they may move Rudy in a larger trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, something like that, which is the next wrinkle in all this. While we have heard that the Timberwolves are interested in the Bulls guards, now that with the Giannis trade request out there, they are not going to make any trades that can take any assets away that they can actually include in that Giannis Antetokounmpo trade. So because of that, I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves, any trade requests for the Chicago Bulls or talks with the Bulls are probably on hold because right now it just would not make sense for them to make that move and get Giannis first. Then with what you have left over from Giannis, if you still feel like point guard is a big need, then go out and get that. But that's the thing. The Bulls guards in high demand, specifically with the Minnesota Timberwolves and maybe the Houston Rockets as well, as we heard that they are a team that could be interested in Coby, Ayo, or Tre Jones as well. With them losing Steven Adams, they may be more key to make a deal, right? Second thing, I talked about, I know it was the lead topic on yesterday's episode, the Bulls aren't trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Well, I know I just talked about him with the Minnesota Timberwolves thing. He's not. He's not coming to Chicago. I get it. Everybody can cook up their ways of which it could happen. It's not happening, y'all. I can tell you that right now. It's not happening. But if you want more detail in why, go and watch yesterday's daily episode or listen to it on the podcast form. We just talked about the second thing that we've heard around this week around the Chicago Bulls, and that is that if either Ayo or Coby are moved, right now it's looking, according to sources, that Coby White is the most likely to want to be moved, and Ayo Dosunmu would remain with the Chicago Bulls long-term because of his versatility, roster versatility, and fit, right? And so between that and the value probably being higher in the trade market for Coby White, we'll see, right? So that right now it seems like, and to me, right, based off what we heard is that the Bulls are listening to offers. I don't know if they're actively shopping anybody on the roster. I don't know if they're going out and they're calling teams, whether they're listening to what's out there to then see if there's a deal they feel they can't pass up on, but it doesn't seem like they are actively shopping either one of those guys. But hey, that could be false. That could be there. We'll see what ends up happening. But right now, if you're betting either or, if you're an either or guy, it seems like the safe bet on either or is Ayo over Coby. But like I've said before too, the chances of us not doing anything with that is probably still more likely than us doing something. Next up, something I didn't talk about on the show yet because I just didn't feel like it was worthy of its own topic, but in this roundup topic, I'll throw it in there, is that apparently AK tried to trade Nikola Vucevic to the Boston Celtics to get Anthony Simons and a first-round pick. So that was crazy. The Boston Celtics turned that down because, again, you're not giving up your best trade chip and a first-round pick to get Nikola Vucevic, who I think the Boston Celtics are more keen on a defensive-minded center than another offensive guy like Nikola Vucevic. But it does sound like Boston declined that proposal from the Bulls, and it is what it is. But yeah, the Bulls. Shout out to, maybe that's what we see as far as a shift in mindset from AK. He wasn't trying to give up the first; he was trying to get the first back for Nikola Vucevic. Hey, that takes some balls. I don't care what you say about that one. That takes some serious balls to do. Shout out to AK on that one. The Bulls and the link to Yves Missi is real, right? It seems like the Bulls are in there. That does not mean they'll be the team to come away from them with them. The Indiana Pacers are another team that's reportedly being interested in him as well. I can't remember. There was another team that was in that also, but there are other teams that are interested in Yves Missi. But it seems like the Bulls at least have seriously made calls on trying to do a trade for Yves Missi. This kind of coincides with the rumor that we heard that AK was looking to add to help the Bulls on a playoff push rather than take away from the team. So it seems like the trade talk around Yves Missi was legitimate. Does that mean that the Bulls are going to come away with him? No. Does that mean that trade is actually going to go down? No. But it does look like, for what it's worth, AK made a call about seriously adding a young center with the athleticism that you want next to Josh Giddey. You want a rim runner, you want a shot blocker, you want those things. And I do think in those areas and defensively, Yves Missi is a really good step up from that. So that one came from a number of sources. Brett Siegel was one of the loudest ones in regards to that. He did say this: the Pelicans may have to settle for a pair of second-round picks if they want to part with Missi before February 5th. So seems like, because of the market, if the Bulls do offer maybe even a protected first, or if you offer a couple of seconds, you could walk away with Yves Missi. And I know that's not necessarily the trade deadline move that a lot of Bulls fans want to see, but that may be the trade deadline move that you get. Might be. We haven't really heard much on AK looking at any of the other centers that are available. We haven't heard much about Nick Claxton, other than some outskirts rumors. We haven't really heard much about Daniel Gafford. We did hear that they would be a team that would be expected to be interested. We haven't heard that they actually made a call, or there's been at least some convo on your Daniel Gafford trade. So just a number of things up in air right now. We'll see what ends up actually coming true for the Bulls. But it does seem like, for what it's worth, the Bulls are active at the trade deadline. What that activity ends up coming away with, that's going to tell a lot for a lot of Bulls fans. Is really what they're looking at more times than not. And we'll see if the Bulls can get it done. We will see if the Bulls actually get this done and they do something at this trade deadline that actually helps pick and chooses that direction, or adds more assets for this Bulls team. But you guys can let me know how you feel on that down below. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Do you keep Ayo? Do you keep Coby? Do you finally pick a direction? And what would that direction be at the trade deadline? I know my tanker's about to have a fun day with that one. Drop your thoughts in the comment down below. Let's have a great conversation. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, and follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform that we happen to be on. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you ready if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.